Okay, what are we doing here? We're making a video thingy. Hi. It's been a while. This is my room. I used to film my reviews here. Those are my. I can't create words right now. Okay. I'm not gonna make these kinds of videos that often. But I want to record the state that I am in right now. I want to record the way I'm thinking right now. I'm pretty sure you guys didn't really miss me. I can't really see myself taking up that much space in another person's life as of this point in my life. I mean, come on. Like, my channel's got, what, like 900 subscribers. Who gives a shit? Okay, so here's what's been going on in my life. I would like to hear about yours, but unfortunately this is a one-way thing. I have been studying for this exam that most Koreans around my age take. For the sake of convenience, we're just gonna call it the KCEE. It's not called that, but it basically is. It's the Korean College Entry Exam, so just for the sake of, not wasting time, we're going to call it the KCEE. So I've been getting ready for the KCEE, and unfortunately, in the last few months, and maybe just a few months before that, I was starting to get a bit complacent. It was stupid of me. I really should have gone all in. I should have just turned into a goddamn machine, like not feeling anything, just getting into all the techniques of solving these questions. And unfortunately, I didn't do that. I just kind of coasted, mostly because I'm not trying to brag here, but I am slightly talented in academia. I usually got good grades without trying too hard. And obviously, I was able to have more time to study other subjects because I didn't study English, like, at all. Even if I didn't study English, I usually got 100. So I was usually the asshole at school who didn't study English at all. So I was kind of coasting, and I was wasting some time. And unfortunately, my results weren't that. Well, I didn't flunk the test, but for my standards, they weren't enough, and for my parents' standards, they weren't enough, and for a lot of people who knew me, for their standards, it just wasn't enough. And if you're interested in Korean culture, even to the slightest extent, you might have seen some of these videos of people from other countries, not non-Korean people, trying to solve the questions from the English portion of the exam, and completely failing, even though they clearly speak English as their first language or their second language. So maybe that might give you a slight idea of how hard this exam is, but really, that's probably just the tip of the iceberg. And I'm really trying to compare this with other exams all over the world. Like, compared to the SATs, the KCEE is insane. Like, especially the math portion. The math portion of the SATs is way too easy. I'm just gonna say it. It's way too easy. I've tried it. I've looked at all the questions that were supposed to be the hardest questions of in the history of the SATs, and they're easy as all hell. At least from my perspective, the Korean math portion is it's way too much. It's way too much, and I'll tell you how hard it is. So the hardest question in the math portion this year, only 2% of the people who took the test got it right. 2%. Last year it was 3%. So take that as you will. In fact, I think about 500,000 people take this exam every year, because sometimes, people in their 30s are trying to get a new job, or trying to go to a new or people in their mid-20s are trying to get into another college, maybe a college that's way better than the college that they're in right now. So it's not only teenagers. Out of the 500,000 that took this test this year, only 10 got a perfect score. 10. How much is that? 500,000, 10, that's 1 in 50,000, which means it's 0.002%? Maybe there's another zero, give or take, whatever. So here's what I got. I got a pretty mediocre score in Korean. I got a pretty good score in math, but it just wasn't the grade that I wanted. I got 3 questions wrong out of 30, and I only wanted to get 1 question wrong. I got a 98 in English. I was kind of like, there was 1 question that I was kind of confused with, but then, whatever, 98, that's just as good as 100, at least to me, and for most people. I completely flunked history, and I fucking nailed the science portion, but obviously, overall, it's subpar for me. And some of you might be saying, well, it sounds like a good enough of a grade. You can go to, maybe you should go to wherever's available. And, who knows? Life is a mysterious thing. You'll go into the world, you'll experience new things, and maybe you'll find that this test wasn't really that important after all in the whole scheme of your life. And that is definitely the rational way to think about this whole situation. But unfortunately, it isn't a reality for me. It isn't a reality for most Koreans. And if you aren't Korean, really, you have no idea what kind of pressure we're under. Like, the amount of time we spend studying, like these kids. Like 15 hours or 16 hours of just studying. Just sitting at a desk, memorizing vocabularies. It's probably not vocabulary. It's just words, in English. Solving all these math questions. Trying to find new techniques to, like, speed up to speed up in the Korean portion of the exam. Trying not to be confused in the science portion of the exam. And watching, internet guides and whatnot. And obviously this propels the teenage suicide rate in Korea, which I believe is at least in the top 10. I know we're like the most unhappiest country in the world. Like, we're number 1 in that, but the suicide rate is like, maybe we're definitely in the top 10. Like, in almost all the categories, whether it's suicide rates amongst women or men or teenagers or the elderly, but obviously we're just kind of like focusing on the teenage bit here, and I don't know. I don't feel too good right now. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. I feel very defeated. I feel very tired. I also look like shit because I haven't been eating properly, or I haven't been working out properly in the last few weeks because I was out of it. And this is really the main point I'm trying to make. Obviously, there's that Western, Asian stereotype of, Asians are always studying, they care way too much about their grades, and it's all about the honor of the family. And, there are plenty of jokes like that in Family Guy and most, edgy comedians, even though their jokes are always the same. But to me, at least right now, and I usually find those jokes funny as long as they're good. But to me, for right now, I'm having a hard time finding those jokes to be funny. Because, and I think this really goes... I feel like this is true for most people. When it hits just a bit too close to home, it stops being funny, no matter how much you're trying to have an open mind about it. When jokes stop being funny... No, jokes stop being funny when the jokes in itself become a reality. And unfortunately, that's the case with me right now. I met kids. I met friends after the test. I met friends who said that they feel like murderers just because they feel like they're murdering it. Like them failing the exam to them is the equivalent of killing their parents. That's how they feel. Um, I've met plenty of friends of mine who just want to kill themselves, and unfortunately, that also includes me. Um, some of you might know that I have a mental illness. I usually don't want to talk about it because I've learned that whenever I do talk about it, it's not like in the movies. In the movies there's that main character who's like, oh, I'm so depressed, blah, 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 and there's that one person, usually the opposite sex, who comes around and says, oh, it's alright. But unfortunately, reality's not like that. When you say that you're depressed and that you want to kill yourself, people run away. So you start shutting up, and you put a little smile on your face, and you start making jokes. And you become a little bit more animated, just so people would know. You're not that type of person, but unfortunately I am. And even though the rational part of me is saying, well, maybe you can always try again. It's not like spending another year studying is going to totally ruin the flow of your life. Plenty of people found success when they were older, way, way older than you. Not everybody can be Elle Fanning. Not everybody can be Kurt Cobain, who released Nevermind at 24, which is insane. Not everybody can be Orson Welles. Sometimes it takes time. That's the rational part of me saying, but unfortunately, in my head, that voice is very muffled. It almost sounds like somebody mumbling, because really the prominent voice in my head wants me to jump off a building. And I don't know. I tried to kill myself about twice in the last 2 years. Twice and a half, actually. I tried to bleed myself to death. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. I drank 3 bottles of cough syrup. That's like that's probably a half suicide, but obviously I'm still alive. I tried to hang myself, but unfortunately, the coat rack that I wrapped my rope around was really, really old, and it broke because I weigh more than 200 pounds. And unfortunately, old coat racks cannot handle that much weight. So obviously, I really suck at killing myself. I tried to have a sense of humor about it, but right now, I'm really having a hard time doing so. I feel, like I said, I feel very defeated. I feel sorry for most people who care about me. I feel sorry for myself, which is something I try not to do most of the time. I feel like a failure just because just because I failed to get a grade to get into medical school, which is what I'm trying to get into, even though I've never wanted to be a doctor in my whole life. I just want to go to medical school because of peer pressure. Because everybody tells me that's where I should go. And, when I look at college, none of it's about music. I don't want to go to art college or whatever. I want to get into music and movies. But unfortunately, that's not really something that my parents are open to, or most people are open to when they look at me. When they look at me, they see this past child prodigy who can speak English, and they can see me as a really cool doctor, and that's all they see in me. And it's kind of annoying. Maybe that's more of a first world problem to a certain extent. It's not really a financial problem, isn't it? So what are my plans? That's really what I'm trying to get into. I'm not, here's the thing, if you want to make racist jokes on this channel, go ahead. Be my guest. Whatever. And I really don't want people to feel sorry about me. That's really the one thing I try to avoid at this point in my life. So what are my plans? Well, for the next 3 weeks or so, I'm gonna have some time off. I'm gonna try and relax. I'm trying to get those, voices out of my head, and I've got some projects. I'm working on a few things, and I'll upload some reviews, probably a lot of reviews, just at once, and I'll be studying again next year because I'm gonna take this exam again because I don't want to lose. If I'm gonna end this part of my life next year, I want to end on a high note. I want people to put me up on their shoulders, and I'll, just fly away in my own parade. This part of my life at this point this part of my life really is the worst I've ever experienced, really. And I know I'm gonna have worse moments. So I want to beat this part of my life. I want to win in this part of my life because I know there's going to be worse parts coming. There are worse parts of life coming, and I want to be able to handle those parts when they do come. When they do come. That sounds wrong, or maybe that's just me. That's just the way I hear it. Oh, the last review I'll be making would probably be on the Last Jedi, because they just gotta pump out these. Hi, so it turns out my camera totally sucks because it literally turns off by itself after about 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm just recording a goodbye. Goodbye for the video, not goodbye forever. I'm not gonna kill myself. I'd like to think I'm more rational than that. Whew, okay. Alright. I don't know what to review. Okay, that's probably gonna be the question because every fucking YouTuber seems to do that. They want comments, so like, okay, go to the comments and tell me what I should review, because clearly I'm just a slave for this fucking fuck. I really don't feel good. Bye.